Welcome to the Business Shop Podcast, where our guests speak on meeting the challenges of entrepreneurship, as well as offer tips and advice on business, marketing, technology, and more. Whether you are a newbie or a seasoned professional, this episode is for you. I am your host, Audrey Wiggins. Let's chop it up. Chop Squad, my guest this episode is Joe Rockey, and he does a whole lot of different things. My kind of person. I hope yours too. So Joe Rockey is a business coach, a keynote speaker, and owner of multiple companies. He helps people achieve their version of passionate success. Or we can go this way. He has many victories in his own life. When Joe was 25, he launched his first business from scratch, and over a decade later, she is strong and survived the pandemic.
She is a she.
Oh, I know, that's right. Like I said, you think about that? All right. Since 2011, he has launched over 15 different entities in multiple industries. To name a few, there will be podcasting. So I want to make sure you guys plug into that later too. At the end of the show, we'll find out what those are so we can follow him. He has business consulting, personal growth coaching, keynote speaking, and real estate investment. So again, he'll probably tell us some more, but just say those few. All right, Joe, welcome to the Business Chop. We have a lot to chop it up about, and I'm excited to get started.
Yeah, no, I'm very glad that you're having me here. I like going, obviously, talking about businesses. You went through my bio there. It's what I do is I create businesses and I help people do that. And one of the things I want everyone in the audience to know what they're going to get out of this episode is, long story short, is I will teach you, not in great depth, but in the episode time we have here, how to make a business culture that people want to work at and you don't have to pay them as much as your competition. So that's what I really like to try to get across to people here, and want to chop that up here with you because I think it's a great topic.
Awesome. Business culture, there's a lot in there. There's almost like the word customer service is everybody's job responsibility. All right, so let's talk about that culture and where does it start, or what's the seat of the culture for the business?
So it really should be in every single person in the business. I mean, that's part of the misnomer, thinking that we can have different culture and different entities, different parts of it. And I obviously understand the larger the entity is, you got multiple locations, especially the further apart these locations are, it can be hard. But if it's the same overall system that we're using to promote our people, that they're using to self-promote each other, really creates a culture of innovation. And that's what I really focus upon, telling people why it's worth doing. Because at the end of the day, the innovative company is the one that survives, while the one that's stagnant doesn't. And that's just a fact of life. Yeah. So when we look at how to actually create a culture of innovation, a culture of mutual respect, a culture of all these basic human things that everyone wants, right? It's really not as hard as people think it is. But it does require us to go outside of the conventional box. And that starting point really scares the vast majority of people away, and they don't want to do it. For many people, it's change is scary and it ends there. And I don't want to do anything that's scary. It's kind of working. So I'm not going to, mess with my business. Ain't broke, don't fix it. Fair enough. But innovation comes with change. So you have to be willing to embrace that in the first place. And where it really comes down as far as how to alter your company is a starting question. Whatever level you're at your company, what is it that you do actually do in your day? What is it that people think you do during your day? And the exact same question for the person in the office next to you, so on and so forth. And for those that are in charge of people below them, you have to do the exact same equation downward through your people. And what we have found is so many entities and people, regardless of your industry, cannot answer those questions correctly. You ask the first person, what it is do I do? Half of the people have no idea. So therefore, the starting point is wrong. So if you're trying to create a system of having people be effective, but we don't even know what they do, and they don't even know what they're supposed to do in some cases, how are we supposed to achieve efficiency from that position? And at the end of the day, what would be the best outcome? These are the starting questions that people go, how are we going to get to a nice culture if we're starting with being scared to death that we don't know anyone's doing? Because when we start asking those questions, people start thinking, oh, this is an invitation for me to get fired. I don't know what to do here. It's not meant to be scary.
So they make up a bunch of crap that they're doing.
Exactly. Exactly. And then, like I said, that's part of why people don't get these answers correct when they're going across. And part of it is basically when I got hired, this was the big thing. But then I kind of got forced into this project. So I start doing that. And I ended up doing more of that. And since no one told me no, I just kind of stayed there. But we really wanted to hire you for the primary purpose that you got in the first place. And at ideal times, that's what we'd want. So where it really gets solved is we need to have a clear answer. And this part does start at the top of what it is that we want to achieve from this position. And this doesn't necessarily mean that Ralph is staying at this position. Maybe Ralph is doing something at a different position, even though the title was wrong. So this isn't about getting rid of personnel, but it's starting with what should be done for this position. In an optimal world, what's done? And when we look at the what's done, how do we measure that? And what we want to ideally find are 2 or 3 things that matter and have impact for that position that we want. And then we want to compensate people directly according to that. So to give an example here, say you were in charge of a hotel, right? Okay. And the number one thing you cared about were that your rooms were clean and they were clean on time for check-in so that our new guests can arrive without getting upset. Pretty basic need of hotels, right?
Right.
So here's how we can do that. We can say, we only care about 2 factors. We can do it the same standard way. You're going to go out. We're going to pay you the month or the hourly rate, probably minimum wage. And at the end of the day, if you don't do it good enough, we're going to yell at you. It's the way everyone else does it. Can't really, no harm, no foul, right? That's how every hotel does it. Well, what if we spun it on the head a little bit? What if we came up with a system that said, we're going to evaluate the cleanliness of your rooms. And if it's an A, you get paid this, a B, you get paid this, so on and so forth. Get as detailed as you want with that. But the core concept is better rooms pay more than not good rooms.
Okay.
Right. And we don't care how long you're here. You're only getting paid based upon the room's completion quality. And for the sake of discussion, say that we put each person in charge of 8 rooms, 4 on the first floor, 4 on the second floor. And each floor has its own unique evaluator. So that way there's no bias saying that I just don't like you, so therefore I always give you a worse score, whatever. It takes that element out of the room. At the end of the day, what you're going to end up having is people that are very good at cleaning their rooms and doing it quickly are going to be able to get it done faster. But they might not all do it the same way. Some of them might prefer to compartmentalize. I do one room from beginning to end, and that's all I focus on. Some people might say, I'm doing all 4 of the bathrooms on this floor first, then I'm doing the vacuum, and then I'm doing the beds. Cool. As the actual result of a clean room, does it really matter the order? Of course not. What matters is it's clean. A micromanager will hate me for that sentence, and that's where I start getting resistance when I go into cultures. But the simple fact is, it doesn't matter at all. What matters is the result. So we then are going to fast forward 3 weeks of paying people based upon their results. And what we're going to find is the people that are not doing it quickly and not doing it well will phase themselves out because their overall amount of their payment will not be worth it. But those that can do high quality rooms and do them quickly are going to get a lot of benefit. First, you just gave them more time and probably roughly the same amount of money. That's the other part of this. Mm-hmm. You do the math of what you're paying for an A+, and if it's basically the same, you'd pay them for 8 hours, that's the win. But why it's a win for the individual who's cleaning the room? Because now I don't need to stay here for the extra 5 hours and do nothing.
Yeah.
I can go home and I can be with my kids. So you just became the employer that is paying on an hourly basis through the roof. No one's fighting that. But at the end of the day, no accountant does an end of the year statement and cares what the hourly rate is. They care what is the total payment to your employees.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you're paying them more an hourly rate is irrelevant. Again, many micromanagers hate that fact. You tell how I'm very good at dealing with, by the way. So you have just made yourself the ideal spot for this person cleaning the room to want to be there. I get to be rewarded for when I do better work. I'm allowed to figure out the way in which I do it. And I'm allowed to basically go home when I'm done. I'm allowed to have more freedom within my life. And I intentionally use this example because in many businesses that don't own a hotel, it's the equivalent of your janitor or cleaning staff. And most people's the lowest people on their company ladder. Mm-hmm. And the bottom line is this process works all the way down there. And we all can visualize how it works for a CEO. We see that all the time. You get paid this much, hit your bonuses, whatever, but it works for every single ladder along the way.
Okay.
And what you end up with is everyone having an insight where they're relevant and they're compensated accordingly for it. And you just made yourself the place you want to be without having to pay more money.
So everybody, let's go out and change. If you have employees, I don't, but I'll put that in my back pocket.
Well, there's a lot of fear to it, right? Because it's different, and it does take some trial and error. I mean, there are going to be times whenever you think the tasks and how we measure this task is the way to actually do it. And you're going to be wrong sometimes. Mm-hmm. That's okay. You can adjust that part of it. You can also say that maybe this isn't really what I wanted this position to be doing. Maybe I actually want them to be doing B. Well, then we just adjust it. And as long as you train your people appropriately to be able to make the adjustment and or give them the freedom to go to where they feel like they'd fit better in, you will not get the pushback that is resting inside your mind that's telling you why you shouldn't do it. Because most of those reasons aren't the truth. They're excuses at best. Yeah, for sure.
So then, wow, I'm trying to think of what would be a good question, to follow. The follow with that, as far as creating the culture that we want for ourselves within our business, and that we're creating that positivity for our workers or our employees. And so then that begets a culture of loyalty.
Exactly, because loyalty starts with a desire for wanting to be with someone. No one really actually breaks that down. No one's loyal to someone that they hate.
Yes.
Like you have to want to be around this person, want to be there. And if we think about most positions in which we're hiring for, our competition gives very little, if any, freedom. Yes, after COVID, you can work from home or not. But at the end of the day, you're telling there's not too much freedom in how they can get paid, have growth or innovation. And if you're allowing innovation to be a regular element of every single person in your business, because now they're trying to figure it out, not just for the company's motives, but for their own personal. I get to go home faster. I can make myself, if I stay here and do 3 more hours, instead of going home sooner, I can radically make more income for myself. And again, as long as these are directed in things that ultimately tie to revenue, which tie to revenue, here's how it passes the test. There's 3 parts of it. If it's connected to any of these 3 parts, the job is tied to revenue. Part 1, we need to have people to find our business and have a desire to check it out. Okay. Part 2, when people have found our business, they are comfortable enough to give us money in exchange for the future product. Most people consider that traditional sales. And part 3, delivering on the back end product or service. So as long as your position is directly tied to one of those 3 elements, the more you push the gas on it, the more your company will be producing and the better off you will be as a result. So that's where you really don't even get a problem by paying more. Like, I need room. If I don't have clean rooms, I can't put people in them, and I can't make money because I don't have inventory.
That's right.
Part of processing.
Yeah. That makes sense to me. Oh my goodness.
Like I said, a lot of people don't think of stuff like this, and this is part of what we do here at Elite Business Conversations is we dive into what's real, and we look at all the options that are on the shelves, because most people have at least some form of a commission process in their sales division, to get the incentive for them to get better deals, whatever, bigger, better deals, more deals. So the commission drives it there. Well, we're all people. It's not like some people have different motivations than others in the overall sense.
Right.
Sure, some people prefer recognition or compliments or unity or all of those various options.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it starts with some core elements that we all share. We want to be treated like people, not like robots, not like machines. We want to actually feel like we're producing something of relevance. Now, the how we feel good about producing that relevance will change from person to person. But those are the essence behind why people go to work every day.
Yeah.
And if you're better at delivering it, people want to be with you. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. So say, for instance, we've been in business for, I don't know, 3 to 5 years, and we have a staff, we have employees at different levels, whatever they're doing. And we're sitting there, we're looking, it's like, the culture of this company is really funky. How do you, coach that owner to begin to cultivate something positive? How do we start that?
So obviously there's the generic example. I'm going to try to keep this as relevant as possible here.
Okay.
So the first thing that we want to do is we want to find out, why is there disconnects? Or correction, let's say it's a different way. How could we make more connections throughout our company and essentially incentivize our people to do so? So what we see in a lot of companies is that as they grow, each of their entities, so the marketing department, the sales department, the production department, kind of gets stuck in their own little bubble, right?
Yeah.
And there's little interaction from side to side. So what we end up having is, well, the salespeople keep lying about what we're able to do. So then we have to come up with a different product, modify it all the time, and it's never consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Or these are not the kind of leads that I should be getting on my desk. I call these people, I'm just wasting my time because they're never going to want our stuff. Well, the marketing people is just doing what they're supposed to. They're giving you more leads. The sales department's doing what they're supposed to. They're making more sales. And we look at this overall, well, how could we fix that? So in addition to giving people their own individual, this is your task and this is what you're getting compensated for, you make that 85% of your overall compensation package. And then you make the other 15% dictated by the success of the other silos around you. And this becomes very easy on the 3 revenue ones. It gets a little bit more harder once you get outside of the world of revenue into things like accounting and HR and stuff like that, but still can be done and should be done. The point being is that now the guy in productions, aside from getting all angry that everything is going wrong, that I have to keep modifying it, he now has a pathway and a regular conduit, because you should create regular meetings for at least the manager levels to go across and saying, hey, you guys keep saying this. We can't do this. This is what we can do. Let's teach you how to sell it, or at least tell you the benefits of it, then you'll figure out how to sell it. And that is how you can create a better rapport within your company. So now you're creating inherently bonds and human connections, because now I know the guy that essentially is going through hell because I keep misrepresenting my product. Now I know the guy who's trying to get leads for me and just doesn't know where he should be looking. He was just told, get more leads. I can move his microscope 3 inches to the right. Now my whole life got a whole lot better. And because my life got better, he gets paid more, and vice versa. And that's really a difference in a sales approach. But when we look at this overall, it's not too much different than what many companies do already. We do annual bonuses based upon overall growth. This is just keeping your eye on the target every single paycheck. And what you find when you do that, rather than just having the down year, hope we had a good production year, by keeping it on every single month or every single paycheck, you now are going to have better results, like vastly, vastly better results once you implement this process. It's part of why I teach my clients that. We consult with clients to make it happen, because the amount of growth you get from it is through the roof. And the other part is, since it's tied to your compensation, it doesn't become a fad. It's not like after the consultant leaves, we go back to what we were used to doing. It's like, no, we're going to keep this going and working good because I'm getting paid more. I want them to be good down in production. And so that now we have more product. Our product has gotten better. Because you'll also get things like this. Well, the reason I'm telling my clients this is because that's what they want. If you just figure out how to do some version of fixing this is what they want, we'll be able to sell it. That conversation is the birth of innovation. And that's how you keep your company ahead and always winning on the forefront.
So if you had to sum us up in one packet of advice or, one thing, what would that be to change our culture?
Can I give you four things?
I want 4 things.
So these are basically the 4 things that you want to make sure are implemented in and out of your company that will open the door, be the foundation of all this. You need to make sure, first and foremost, that you have a company that everyone involved is willing to become more educated and learn about what they're doing. You don't want to get that person who says, I've hit enough, I know enough, we don't need to go anymore, because that's the death of growth. So you need to have a learning-based culture. Number 2, you need to have practices that are based in justice. And what I mean in this context is we hired this person because they were the absolute best person I can get for the resources we're going to spend on this job. Same with promotions, same with all the rest of it. And when you act in that fashion, you then have taken all bias out of the equation and have given even more incentive for people to outperform each other. For the competitive people in the world, it really opens up doors.
Okay.
Number 3 is you need to have a culture of courage. And what I mean by that is you need to have everyone involved feel that if they speak up with an idea, that it actually will be heard and not something that's going to rip them apart and ultimately hurt their career. And likewise, you need to be able to listen to ideas, even if you know you're not going to implement them, listen to them and address them on their merit. Now, if you get something that's never going to work, you tell the person, all right, this is why we couldn't do that here. We make Coca-Cola. We can't make tires. Okay? Like, I get that. Like, right. Our trucks have the tires that are sold by Goodyear. I can't do anything about that. Like, we can make cherry Coke. That's what we can do. So there's going to be answers to that. It might, everyone's got their own personality, how to spin it based upon your relationship you have with the person. But that's the essence of courage. And right along with this is number 4, you have to have every single person being able to live in a humble state. And humility is the hardest one of these 4, because all the other 3, you can just go all in on. You can go all in on wanting to learn more, all in on fairness, all in on open-mindedness. Humility is a balancing act, because what humility is it is neither I am the smallest and most insignificant person on this planet, nor am I the biggest and most important person who everyone needs to bow down to me.
Right.
If you can intertwine those 4 things into your element, into your daily life as a business, all of it, that's the foundation of everything I just said. It allows everything you do to take off because you are valuing your people. People will want to be with you. And then once they're there, they'll have the opportunity to really blow the roof off the place.
Awesome. Well, Joe, how can we get in touch with you and what can we expect?
So the number 1 and easiest way to get a hold of me is to go to my website, Elite Business Conversations. When you're there, on every single page, you will see a button to contact me, and a member of my staff, we will have a chat with you. Whether we're talking about all the awesome culture stuff we discussed here, talking about it on stage for you, or sales, which we didn't get into, but I do all the same stuff for sales.
Okay.
That's how we do. So go to my website, it's Elite Business Conversations, and click on a button to have a chat, and we'll see if we're a good fit. And I know we had a discussion about a lot of different things here, and I apologize for talking so much during it.
Oh, no, this is awesome. I appreciate it. Yeah, you're the expert here, not me.
I thank you for that. Was there one thing that stood out to you today that you really think will resonate with you or your audience?
Yeah, it's the whole mindset piece. And really thinking about it through areas you had pointed out, is this revenue generating, or, everything being tied, our behavior is being tied back to the money. And I thought it was very exciting that if we just opened our minds a little bit, using the hotel example, really, paying for the performance based on, versus paying just for the hours and what that meant, and in being able to eliminate the you're fired type scenario at the end of the day, because that, like you said, that person really fires themselves or relieves themselves of that particular job. And that's an incentive for us as employees to be more committed, loyal, and dedicated to our job. Because basically, when all of us go to work, whether we own the business or not, we're kind of trading our time for the dollar. So why not have some fun with it? Why not feel good about ourselves at the end of the day for those bucks that we did earn?
Perfect. Well, that's exactly it. And I'm glad we were able to resonate that message home. I'm very glad that did.
So, Joe, in addition to your website, how else can we get in touch with you or be at your feet and learn?
Yeah, well, LinkedIn is obviously a good source. You can find me at Joe Rockey at there. This will be releasing a couple of months before my first book comes out, which is Casino Sales Master, which is an absolutely great story. It's about how I went to Las Vegas with only $500 and no money whatsoever on credit because I was leveraged out of my mind when all of my friends had real jobs and money, and I had to figure out how to survive not only the trip, but even make it fun. And I use literally just the sales skills that I teach people, and that's what the book is, about how I went from having $500 to literally having Las Vegas pay me to be there, have the entire trip I wanted, and then take plenty of money home with me. And I've repeated that a number of times. So that's what Casino Sales Master is all about. And it's applicable skills to go to everyone's life. So that will be coming out in the fall here, as this episode will be coming out in late summer. And then I also can be found at my other podcasts, as we mentioned a little earlier. The TV show is Elite Business Conversations. In podcast format, that can be found on the Billionaires and Boxers Network. It can also be found streaming its TV version on both Amazon and Roku, depending upon your device here in America. Okay. And then my other three shows, the first one is Father and Joe. That's a conversation all about relationships. So if you want to get deeper into how we get the basis of the conversation and culture that we have, a lot of those topics come up at Father and Joe because they're all about relationships and how to make yourself better in that. And then I do 2 football shows as well for the NFL. The first is called Local Football Flavor. That's mostly a fantasy show and a fan base show where we learn from each other and talk about what's going on in the league. Cool. Right now, being this time of the year, it's a lot of fantasy football, but later on during the season, it will be about gambling and who's winning and who's not, how we feel about our team and that team. And then the final show I do is called the Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate, which is just Steelers all the time, and that's all we talk is.
Oh, my nephew-in-law would love you and his mother. Okay.
Well, that's good.
We're Browns country and they're Steelers, and we always, go back and forth. But at the end of the day, we love each other. That's right. That's right. We love Cleveland up there. Most of all, y'all beat Cincinnati. Oh yeah, I'm the beloved Bengals. Yes, for sure. Was there any other podcasts or shows you do?
That's 4. How many more do you want me to do?
I don't know. You just that intro I gave. You were doing many things.
The other businesses kind of are what they are, which their marketing roles are playing. I really want to focus, basically, I said, upon finding me at Elite Business Conversations, find us at Father and Joe. And then Local Football Flavor. Those are the 3 main ones. Because if not, my end tail will be longer than the show itself. That's
right. Okay. Well, this is recorded, right? We can pause and go back.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again, Joe. It's exciting, and we'll plug into you and get your book when that comes out, and we'll be ready to change our culture and master ourselves.
Thank you very much for having me. I really like chopping it up.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you for listening to The Business Shop. We hope that you were able to glean valuable information from our guest and that you will download and share this podcast. Your rating and review is much appreciated. To go deeper with our guests, please visit their website and social channels. To learn more about us, please visit businessshop.info or altogether.biz, where we will help you expand your brand.